Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the webinar. The topic for today is efficient engineering with TwinCAT multi-user function. If you may have questions during the webinar, please use the question window, what you can see here on the right-hand side. We will try to answer as many questions as possible during the webinar, and if it is interesting for more customers, then we will answer it at the end of the webinar. Okay, the topic, as already mentioned, is the multi-user function from Beckhoff. I would like to give you a short overview why we are doing this. Then I would like to explain the idea behind the solution, how we have implemented it, the workflow which you would like to provide for you, and then a differentiation between the standard source control and Beckhoff multi-user, or how it works together. And then I will do a short live presentation. What is the scenario? I think it's already known that machines become more and more complex, so that more and more programmers work on the same machine and during the commissioning, and also on the same project, on the same target system, right? So, and this leads to several challenges. The first one is that during the commissioning, if you are on the customer side, you typically have no connection to your company network, which means you have no access to the source control system you are using during the engineering. And even the programmers, what you can see here in the picture, we have 3 programmers, for example, and each of these programmers have, of course, the latest version from their part of the source code, but not from the complete project, which means when they try to log in, only one can log in without online change and can do some changes, but the other ones cannot. Each programmer, when he does a login without a synchronization of with the other programmers, is doing an online change, and the changes from the colleagues are missing after this online change. That's why synchronization between these programmers is necessary. Furthermore, if you do a change on a machine which is not really perfect, and you would like to go a step backwards or multiple steps backwards, then this is not easily possible. And also, if you would like to see the complete history, who has changed, who has done some changes, this is also not possible at the moment. So, what is the idea behind the multifunctionality from Beckhoff? Again, here in this picture, you have 3 programmers, you have a target system, and each of these programmers is at least connected to the target system, right? This is what you have during the commissioning. As you can see, there's no internet connection here, but this minimal infrastructure, 3 programmers are connected to the target system. This is what you have during the commissioning. So how can we provide multi-user functionality? As you see here in the picture, the central point here is the target system, right? So why not using this target system to provide a target repository, which we are used for synchronization purposes. In an optimal way, also each programmer has a local repository so that you can do a work with support of the source control functionality. And it would be perfect if later on, if the commissioning is done, you can check in the complete history, what you have done during the commissioning in the repository in your company, right? This would be perfect. To support this, we have decided to use a decentralized source control system. We are using Git underneath the multi-user functionality. So our goal was to provide this functionality in a way that the programmers itself do not need really knowledge about source control functionality. During the commissioning, they have a lot of pressure to program the machine, right? So that there should be no need for them to look in the internet and how can I force an update on the machine or something like this, right? This is what not should happen during the commissioning. That's why we have integrated it complete in our workflow. Which means if you download your project version to the target system via login or via download, your project version will automatically submitted to the target repository. And also, if your colleagues has done already some changes, then our multi-user functionality automatically detects, okay, there are some other changes you have to merge, and then directly these files which are necessary to merge will be shown, and then the TwinCAT compare tool can be opened and the merge can be done. And also the history view, what I have already mentioned, what is necessary for the traceability and so on, should also be integrated, that you can see who has done some changes, what has changed, and that you can go forward, backward, that you can compare each version and so on. This complete functionality is included in build 4024, and it's without any additional license fees. I already mentioned that we have integrated this completely in the normally workflow without any additional buttons and so on. How does it look like? We have, of course, a special window which is named Multi-User Explorer, which has several categories for doing some settings and to see the differences, status, and so on. You can use it or you cannot use it as soon as you have done the settings, so that the multi-user functionality is enabled. There's no need for an extra button. So if you program like you do it normally, then you do your changes in your project and then you press the login button. And then automatically you may see another dialog asking you would you like to do an online change or a download, but that's it, right? And it's the same for the multi-user functionality. If you enabled that you would like to see an update message, then you get this message dialog here in which you can provide a command, which makes absolutely sense in meaning of traceability of the complete engineering steps. But if you do not want to see anything regarding source control, then you can also disable this, right? Then you will not see any additional dialogue. And also, if a conflict is detected, same situation, you have done your changes, you would like to log in and you press the login button, then you get an additional dialog which asking you, would you like to solve the conflict? Would you like to force the update or do nothing? If you decide to solve the conflict, then you get a list of all conflicts and you can merge all these conflicts one after another. And then the TwinCAT compare tool opens and you can do your merge. Or if there is a need that the machine has to run now with your version because whatever the end customer would like to see something, or there's an error in the machine and you have to run a specific part of the code, then you can also say force update, and then your version of the project will be downloaded to the target system and also submitted to the target repository. This is also possible if needed. I mentioned the history view. This is how this history view looks like. You can see here all the changes. You can see the status of the remote system. You can see here what was the last change from you. And you can see here, this is the local version, which is on your local repository, let's say, which is checked in on the local repository. And you can see here that you have done some further changes. You can do here a comparison that you can see, okay, what have I done since I downloaded my project version the last time. You can also see that the user, Zweitbenutzer in this case, has already done some changes on the target system. And in more detail, he has done 2 online changes. And you can also do a comparison with what he has changed. Okay? And you can, what you can see here in the part below, you can also set own tags. If you have a version, for example, which was producing a specific product and then you have done some changes for another product and so on, then you can also set tags and you can at any time go back to this version or, yeah, no source control functionality, right? But again, it's completely integrated in our multi-user repository, multi-user functionality. So this is some kind of overall of global picture of standard source control in comparison with Beckhoff multi-user functionality. So this and how it works together, right? You can see here on the left-hand side the default source control server from your company. This is your central repository which you are using during the engineering of the machine. Then you can see here the different engineering workstation from the different programmers, and if they go to the machine, if they go to the commissioning, they check out the latest version from the TFS, for example, or pull it from the Git. And this they are typically using by using the default source control provider, which is integrated in the Visual Studio Shell. Next to this source control provider, we have integrated our multi-user functionality. We have done this separate because if you are not using Git, then if you use the normal source control provided by the Microsoft Visual Studio, this can only handle one source control link at the same time. But that's not what we need, right? We need one link to the central server and one link to the target system. If both is Git, this would be perfect, because then if the commissioning is done, you can check in your complete history, what is here on the target system. You can then check this into the global repository, and this is the most perfect way in meaning of traceability. Okay, when you start the commissioning, again, you download the latest version from the central repository, then you have this last version here, then you go to the customer side, and then how to start. You can then open the Multi-User Explorer, and then you can activate the multi-user functionality for your PLC. We have extended Git a little bit so that Git now also can speak ADS next to HTTPS and the Git-owned protocol and so on. Now Git can also talk via ADS, so which means you can here select in your Multi-User Explorer which system should be the central point, which system should host the target repository. This could, for example, the target system, because it makes sense. Again, each of the programmers have at least a connection to the target system, right? So that's why this could be the target system. But if for any reason you do not want this, because of knowledge protection purposes, you would like to have another computer so that you make sure you will not forget to delete this repository on the target system or whatever, then it can also be an additional computer or one of the engineering laptops and so on. That really depends on your needs. Each system for which you have the route information can be selected here. Underneath, in the multi-user repository, you can see if there are already existing repositories, then you can select one of those, or you can create a new repository. Then you can see here the remote URL from the TwinCAT repository. You can provide here an own username. Normally, if you do not do any change here, here's a placeholder for the logged in user. So automatically your login name will be used for all the commands. And here you can switch on and off if you would like to see these update messages. And you can also decide how these update messages should look like. And these are some placeholders. You can change the order of the placeholders, or you can delete one of these placeholders. You can provide some text which should always be shown. It really depends on you. And as soon as you save these changes here, then automatically the remote repository, if it not exists, will be generated. And also the repository of the local system will be initialized. Okay, let's come to a short live presentation that you can see it in more detail. So what have I done? I have created two folders here because I do not have two computers here. I use the same computer but two different instances of the Microsoft Visual Studio Shell. And I have created for each user an own folder but with the same project. And on the one hand, if you would like to test it and you have no additional computers, then please do not copy the complete folder if the multi-user repository is already initialized. Standard Git using absolute path, which means if you copy it with enabled multi-user functionality, you will always work on the same folder even if you have two, right? So this makes no sense. So, and this is also not how you would normally use it, right? So standard use case is, as shown here, So in this slide, you check out the latest version, then you have the complete project, and then you go to the machine and enable the multi-user functionality. That's what we are doing now. So I have here the Microsoft Visual Studio from user 1 and the new TwinCAT XAE shell for user 2. Okay, this user had not even loaded the project. I will stop with the other one. So, and now I can click here on a project and I can enable here that the multi-user functionality should be switched on. I can do this under the settings. Oh, sorry. It's in German language. I can switch this to English language. You can see this in more detail. So in the national settings, English. Yeah, okay. I will start it again, so then you have it in English language. In the meantime, I can also here switch the multi-user functionality on. Okay, and here what you have seen here in the project settings, you can also see if the multi-user is active or not. This you can see here. When you select the TwinCAT project, you will see here in the properties if the multi-user is active or not. So if this is active, you can open the multi-user explorer. You can do so via View, additional windows, multi-user explorer, here, multi-user explorer. And then the multi-user explorer is open. You can select the PLC project for which you would like to use it. So, and another hand, at the moment the multi-user functionality is only targeting about the PLC projects, right? Normally during the commissioning you will not do multi-user changes of the IOs. That's not what you normally do, but you work together in a team on the same PLC project. That's why we at the beginning focus only on the PLC. And for each PLC which you have in your TwinCAT project, we have an own repository to make the work in teams as much comfortable as possible and so independent as possible at the same time. That's why we have focused on the PLC project. So again, if you have a second PLC, you can also, of course, create a second repository for the second PLC. Okay? Okay, okay, this is also German, so I will explain the settings in this Visual Studio for which I have switched the language. I will also again open the project here. Okay. I also show here multi-user explorer is under View, other windows, multi-user repository. Here we are. So, and I can now select the PLC I would like to, sorry, it's the wrong project. It's for the next webinar, so I can invite you already to the next webinar will be the multi-use, the real-time monitor. So this will be mid of September. Okay, this project. Okay, multi-user explorer, PLC fair demo. Make it a little bit bigger. I already mentioned here you can see each system for which I have route information. I will choose here the local system. I can see here all the webinars which are already existing on this target system, on this host. So there are already some. I will create a new one. Webinar 2. Here you can see the placeholder for the username. You can provide another one. This is the settings which asks you for update message. And here, as I already mentioned, you can define how your update message should look like. Now I say initial remote and sorry, this was the wrong repository. He has chosen the other repository from the German webinar to ask for update messages. Okay, now he will create the repository on the target system and also initialize the local repository. If this is done, then you can see here the different categories which become active. We have here our history view. We have here a category for showing all changes in the project. You can see here how the status is of your multi-user functionality. You can see here the conflicts. You can see here local and remote are in sync. And you can see here also that we have a manual category. So if there's a need that you would like to push or pull a version for whatever reason manually, then you can also do so. You normally do not need this, right? It's completely integrated. So, okay, the multi-user functionality is now active. And now I will do here some first changes. I have here my project. I have here a counter. I would like to increase this counter variable a little bit faster. Now I activate my configuration. Okay, switch to run mode. So, and as already mentioned, there's no additional button required. As soon as I press login, I will be informed that there is no application existing. I would like to create it. And then this is active on what I have seen here. I do not get this question. I forgot to activate the multi-user functionality. So I'll do another change. Downloaded it to the target system. With online change. Now I will be asked for an update message. So first user, first check-in, okay. And now this is what is on the repository. If I do now some changes, for example, this one, I can also see here what has changed. This is the main preview. If I would like to see the history, I can open also the history view. I can see here local and remote are in sync, but there are some changes which I have done. If I would like to see what have I done since I have the last time downloaded my version of the application, you can right click here and say compare, and then our compare tool opens and directly showing you the changes what you have done during the last time you have downloaded your application to the target system. You can here directly, by using this button, jump to the next change. This is only this one per view which has changed, and you can see here the changes you have made. Okay, but this is normal source functionality, a little bit more integrated, but I wanted to show you multi-user, right? So that's why I will keep logged in here. Yeah, I had done an additional change with this 4, so first user, second change. So I will remain checked in here, and now I will open this for the second user, for the second programmer. I also here will create a link to the multi-user target, same target system, the multi-user repository. Also here I would like to have update messages. He mentioned in German language that the remote already exists, and asked if I would like to download the latest version. So here it really depends. If you all the programmers start with the same version, then you can do so. If you have already extend the functionality from your own part, then it makes no sense, which means then you have not to reload it. Then you can keep your version, and you can begin with a login and merge all together. So now it will be compiled. So now also on this system, mod-user functionality is active. And also here I would like to do some changes. For example, increase here again this number, check in. Now I will be informed that there is a conflict, because not a conflict in this case, because we have started from the same version. So it should not be in conflict, but he should inform me that there is another user is already logged in. Second user, first login. Still have. Okay, now I'm logged in. I can switch back here to here. To here also some changes. Now I will be informed what I already mentioned, that on the other system I have already done some changes, and that here now we have a conflict. I can now say, okay, solve this conflict. I will be informed that the online change will be cancelled, because I have to solve the conflicts first, and then also I get a hint that afterwards a new build is required. Okay. Now I can say here, okay, I would like to discard our local changes, and I would like to use the changes from a remote system, or if I would like to merge the local and the remote, this is what I would like to do now. Yeah, I will be informed that because of the changes, I have to close this editor so that all the changes become directly active. So here now, I can now say start the merge. Now again, the compare tool opens, showing me the changes. I can now use, for example, oppose changes if I would like to have both changes here, or I cannot do it. It really depends on you. You can also have it this way and then only accept it. Also to 5 here, you can save your changes. If you close the compare tool, you will be asked if you accept the merge. This I already have done. And this accept here is only for you. If you see all the changes or all the conflicts which has to be solved, then you can say for you, okay, this is done. At the moment, there are no other conflicts. You can see here, it took over the change from the other Visual Studio instance, and now I can say, okay, please log in. Yes, again, that was the first user, third change. Okay, that's it. And now this change is also committed to the target system. But you can also see this small rectangle here is blue. As soon as this rectangle is blue, there's more than one user logged into the target system. Then you can see that you are not the only one. Of course, not all of you can do a login at the same time. So if another programmer is already logged in, then you get a message, okay, programmer 2 from system, whatever the computer name is already logged in. Then you can inform this other user that he has to log off shortly. Then you can do your changes. You can log into the system so that all the changes can be submitted to the target repository, and then also the other programmer can log in and have a synchronized version of the project. Okay, that's it with the live presentation so far. Let's see if we have some questions. I got a question: what PLC types support this target repository? Does it depend on the operating system on the PC? No, it does not. It's not supported for CE-based systems at the moment, only big Windows. But for the big Windows system, it doesn't matter if it's in Windows 7 or Windows 10 or whatever. The next question was, all this configuration is only done once correct. After this configuration, the programmer only needs to program his code. This is absolutely correct. The initialization has only been done once. And as already mentioned in the webinar, if you disable the option for the update message, you will not even see this in your normal process, right? Only if you have some conflicts, you will see this. The next question was if multi-user does also allow that more than one user is logged in for monitoring. This is correct. If you have the same version of the project, more than one user can log in. This is what you can see here by this blue rectangle here, that more than one computer is logged in. Then I got a question if this is also relevant for safety design. As already mentioned, at the moment we are focusing only on the PLC, right? So safety is at the moment out of focus. We will do this later on also for the other parts, which means for I/O and so on, but safety is at the moment not in the focus. Okay, there are no other questions. If later on you have some questions, please write us an email. All questions are welcome and will be answered from our side. Okay, then thank you for your attention and have a nice day.